Do you ever sit in bed at night and you have like a silly idea for a video or something and you can't get it out of your head until you've made it? So here we are. I had thoughts about the Pokemon type chart and I felt like ranking the different strengths and weaknesses of different types. So let's do that. And because it always felt like type number one to me, starting with fire. Um, so here's fire attacking type, and here's what the impact of the opposing type is. So fire is uh, weak when used against a rock type Pokemon. I always felt like this made sense. Uh, you can imagine a, rock, in a campfire, and the campfire goes out, and the rock is very hot, but it's like still there. And you take the rock and you throw it in the river and it explodes, something like that. Not relevant to this, but a lot of this judgment is based on the intuitiveness of this, right? Like, is this can you remember this, or can or is this something that really only exists for game balance, or because every type needs to interact with every other type, and so they need answers for everything? Um, but so in this case, I feel like fire against rock for an intuitiveness scale and just like how much it personally resonates with me. I feel like that is maybe a B tier. Okay, so bug against, or fire type against a bug. So for me, I think of a bug getting, hit with a magnifying glass under the sun, and it, burns up and burns away. I feel like this is about the same as rock versus fire, where it kind of makes sense. Don't especially resonate. Maybe I'm going down to C for this, or maybe rock fire is A and bug fire is B. Because I don't feel like it would be helpful to talk about the 1X's here. But as a kid, I always remember in my head wanting fire to hit flying for super effective, because the flying Pokemon are all these like birds. They're covered in these feathers. The feathers feel like they would set on fire. Most animals, normal types, feel like they would set on fire. Um, I guess the bugs are like in the grass and stuff like that, so they get burned up for that reason. But I don't know. It just I there's no reason for me to remember this that's greater than what I'd expect fire to interact with flying or normal. Okay, so fire against steel. So steel, from a game design perspective, is a very defensive type. Resists a lot of things, so it only has a couple of weaknesses. And in terms of um, does this make sense? Well, I think, similar to the rock in the fireplace, the rock in the campfire, you can imagine steel melting under fire. I think that makes sense to me. So I'm going to put that as an A. Okay, so we got the self type thing, where it is half as effective against itself. So fire against a fire Pokemon is half as effective, is not very effective. Um, these it's a very common thing to have happen. It's not straight down the line, but you see there's quite a few of them. And So, for that, it's kind of like the baseline. You remember it because you expect it, and I don't know, it's uh, unexciting. So it goes in B. Like it's intuitive, but it's not it doesn't evoke any specific image. So fire against water. So we got water, we got grass here. This is the core trio. I think it's gonna be hard to not put these in S tier. Um, it's very clear. The whole reason I started this idea in my head is because I don't think that all the trio matchups are S tier, but I think this one clearly is. Water puts out fire, fire burns down trees. Those are just they're good stuff. Um, Ice, fire melts ice. I think that is another clear S tier. Just very easy to grasp, very intuitive, makes a lot of sense. Uh, so dragon resists fire. Dragon Pokemon resists fire. This was unclear to me until I recently, one of the Pokemon videos I was watching, they mentioned that dragon resists the three main types. It resists fire, water, and grass. So, um, or the three starter types. So that helps a little as like a rule of thumb. But what dragon Pokemon are is not super clear, and why they resist these things is not super clear to me. I don't feel like there's a strong thematic consistency of what makes a dragon type or why it has the weaknesses that it does. So I'm gonna say this is a C. Looking at fire resistances, so when fire is the defending type, we'll note first off here that we have so most of these are uh, vice versa, right? So fire is weak against rock, rock is strong against fire, fire is weak against water, water is strong against fire. It's not always that way though. So we see that ground is strong against fire, but fire doesn't have, fire is 1x against ground, which is an interesting choice. um, I feel like fire versus ground, so a ground against a fire Pokemon. Um, Again, think of like a campfire, right? You put the campfire out with some sand or something like that, and that makes some sense to me. Um, and I feel like it comes up enough in games that it's kind of been driven into my head, but overall, I feel like it's kind of a B level of remembering. Um, so this opposite here, where fire is half effective against rock. Now that means rock is doubly effective against fire. This feels a little less intuitive to me. I think this goes in the same place as ground because why is a rock attack strong against a fire Pokemon? It's like again kind of covering the fire with ground. I mean it's the same kind of idea here, I guess, but like I can imagine throwing a rock into a fire. I can't imagine th- throwing and throwing a rock into a fire is like attacking the rock with that fire. I can't imagine attacking a fire with rocks. So I don't know. I feel like maybe it's C. Um, can you attack a fire with bugs? You command your legion of ants to attack that fire. I can kind of see it, but I don't really know. It doesn't totally. You only remember it because the opposite is true, right? Fire is strong against bug, so bug is not strong against fire. So I think we're seeing these backwardsies don't necessarily make as much sense. When it comes to steel, so a steel attack against fire, kind of makes sense to me. I think you're gonna upgrade this to a B in the sense that um, you can imagine something made of fire. You try to hit it with a sword. It's not going to do very much to it. Um, Fire on itself, sure, we've covered that already. Water against fire, we think these are S's again. How do you put out fire with water? And if you tried to attack fire with a stick, that stick would set on fire. If you tried to attack fire with an icicle, that icicle would melt. Okay, fairy. We haven't talked about fairy yet. Fairy um, is the newest type, as we all know, and it is not super clear how to conceptualize it. It's kind of magical. Um, so a fairy attack, it's like magical, but like natural, like tricky. I'm not totally sure, but it a fairy attack against a fire thing. I guess the so this one is also asymmetrical here, where fire isn't especially good against fairies. I guess the fairy dodges the flamethrower or whatever. But but does fairy attack kill fire? I guess what hurts fire, like water hurts fire, ground hurts fire. These we can kind of wrap our head around, but what does fairy attacking even do? What does it even mean? Not really clear to me. So I'm going to put this at a C. And so that is the idea that plagued me last night in bed was making a tier list of the Pokemon type chart. And we did that with fire. We did it. Congratulations to us, and thank you for listening. Bye.